Mr. Chairman, good morning. I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 31, printed in House Report number 119-232, offered by Mr. Perry of Pennsylvania.
Pursuant to House Resolution 672, the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Perry, and a member opposed. Each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It might sound like a little bit of a broken record here, but unfortunately, the broken record of $37 trillion in debt and climbing continues as well, so we just got to keep at it. First, the Great Lakes Authority has only been authorized since 2022. It still does not have a federal co-chair, so nobody's in charge. It has no website. It has no programs funded. They haven't done anything. They haven't spent any money making any lives better. Yet, strangely, it is still receiving federal dollars to the tune of $4 million for projects allegedly in the watershed of the regions of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. The Commission's programs are duplicative of other federal economic development programs and better addressed at the state and local levels. That's even if they do any projects, which they don't. They just get money. Folks, we've seen how the other commissions have gone. President Trump urged the elimination of many of them, and so did President Obama recommended the elimination. With that level of bipartisan criticism of existing commissions, I don't see why we need to dig ourselves even deeper with another one, more debt, more projects that are supposed to be done by others, no federal nexus, but here we go. I know that people in the building will scoff at the difference of $2 million and $4 million. But for folks where I live, $2 million and $4 million is a lot of money. And remember, whether it's 4 or 2, no projects are being completed at this time by this organization. That's a lot of money to be throwing around at a commission that's duplicative and obviously unnecessary. Furthermore, all of us know here it's not going to stop at $4 million. This commission, like all the rest, will balloon up to tens of millions of dollars unless somebody puts their foot down. So I'm going to stay on this mission to try and save the taxpayers some money that, it's great for people on the commission to be Santa Claus, hand out your money to somebody else. But you're the one paying for it. Don't have any illusions about that. With that, I reserve.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania reserves. For what purpose does a gentlelady from Ohio seek recognition?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I rise in opposition to this amendment.
Gentlelady is recognized for 5 minutes.
I listened to the gentleman, and he and I share a piece of the continent in a way. Part of Pennsylvania drains into Lake Erie, believe it or not. I don't believe your district does. Congressman Perry represents a capital city. Capital cities tend to do a little better than other parts of the country economically because all the tax dollars flow there. And so Harrisburg and the general region you represent is very different than the Great Lakes region that I am privileged to help to try to represent here in the Congress. So I arise in opposition to your amendment because I think it comes from a lack of understanding of the challenges that are faced in our region of America, which you do not share. Even though Erie, Pennsylvania will benefit, assuming the commission can be stood up, and maybe our vice president can help us with that, calling Ohio his home, though he does not come from the Great Lakes region of Ohio. If you look around our country, for many, many years, my part of America lost jobs and economic growth to California and the West because of the Bureau of Reclamation. And it's important to understand what the Bureau of Reclamation does, and the fact that places like I represent have enormous environmental debt because we had to self-finance our water systems and so forth. If I go to the South and I look at the Tennessee Valley Authority, they take our jobs because of their ability to produce power, because of the federal government's presence in that region across several states, extending all the way through down to Alabama, Tennessee to Alabama. I support that. Those regions needed help with economic growth and environmental restoration. I represent an important part of the Great Lakes watershed. It's one, actually, that we share with Canada. But let me tell you, we don't get the attention that these other places do. And our people have gone through a lot. We have not had a trade balance in this country for almost half a century. And whether you're talking about Kenosha, Wisconsin, whether you're talking about Flint, Michigan, whether you're talking about Erie, Pennsylvania, there are places in your state, sir, that would benefit from what we are proposing in this particular measure. So the Great Lakes Authority was passed in both chambers, and we are waiting for the reason that the dollars are sitting there is because the executive branch has not chosen a co-chair to actually stand up the authority. So what is it there for? Well, first of all, to pay attention to communities like Flint, Michigan, that had its water shut off. My hometown lost its water in 2014. Until you go through that, you really won't understand. And when you look at the environmental debt of these cities and what they're trying to do, and what's happened to production as NAFTA, CAFTA, all these trade agreements, that the Korean agreement that outsourced our jobs to cheap labor, and these communities are trying to restore themselves. There's a greatness to these communities. There's an industrial muscle and a patriotism that is important to acknowledge, and not to say, well, we're done with them. You know, no. We need focus on these regions just as we do in Appalachia and with the other kinds of instrumentalities that exist across our country. We are very proud of our working class people. We have a company right now in my hometown of Toledo, Libby Glass, where we have a major strike. Why? Because they are in competition with China, Mexico, and France with no help from the government of the United States. And so the workers are sort of on their own. They're trying to say, hey, wait a minute, we want to work. They work hard. You sit in front of a blast furnace 8 hours a day at 90 degrees blowing in your face. You do that for a while. That won't happen to people largely from Harrisburg because you're more of a middle-class community, you're a state capital. But where I come from, people work hard for a living. They work in industry and they work in agriculture and they work every day. And they deserve the attention of the government of the United States. No region should be left out when it faces what our region does. So, what do we use the Great Lakes Authority for? To create and foster innovation and advance world-class workforce, education and training, and adjustment institutions for better jobs in places like I represent. And I'm not the only one. The Great Lakes Nation we share with Canada, that's another complexity. Parts of New York get energy from working with Canada. It's not so simple to create production in our part of America. And by the way, the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway was built too small because the coast didn't want us to succeed. We're far from the Atlantic. We can't get to the Pacific out of our part of the country other than by train. So we needed a way to move our product, and they figured it out with the help of President Eisenhower and a lot of others that preceded him in order to move our product globally. But we don't have some of the benefits that the other coast does. So I would ask you to reconsider
gentlelady's time has
your opposition.
Expired.
And I thank the chair for your endurance.
Gentlelady's time expired. The gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are a lot of things I agree with the gentlelady from Ohio about. We have hardworking people, whether they're in Harrisburg or in Ohio, working class people. I, having spent most of my life being one of them, turning wrenches, laying in ditches and things like that. So we know how to work in Pennsylvania. Look, where we agree, apparently, but we can't say is the federal government broke it, shipping our jobs overseas, not only in your communities, but in my communities. And, of course, the federal government did that with our tax dollars. So then the federal government's going to come back in after they broke it and use our tax dollars to tell us that they're fixing it. What I'm saying is that these programs are being done by other federal agencies. We don't need yet another one on top of them to take our money and have it sit in some account. And oh, by the way, when you say, well, there's no one been appointed by the executive branch, this thing was started years ago. Well, somebody else was in the executive branch and didn't appoint anybody. So don't please lecture me on how Donald Trump isn't appointing someone to this when President Biden had the opportunity and somebody could have auto-penned it but couldn't be bothered. We need to support this amendment. I urge passage, and I yield the balance.
The gentleman yields back. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Pennsylvania. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to. For what purpose does the gentlelady from Ohio seek recognition?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I demand a recorded vote.
Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18,